I recently rode both the Tren Maya and the ADO bus in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. In this video, I'm going to compare my experiences from both the Tren Maya and the ADO bus. ADO is a large Mexican bus company and has been around since 1939. The Tren Maya, on the other hand, is a very new venture that was thought of by the former president AMLO and brought to completion under his term. It's 1,500 kilometers approximately of rail in the Yucatan Peninsula and was completed really in the last year. So this video will be a comparison and battle between two of the heavy hitters in Mexico's transportation industry. I'm going to be looking at punctuality, comfort, Wi-Fi, food, washrooms, station location, trip duration, charging stations, and the price of the journey. So starting with punctuality, the Tren Maya that I took was on time, pretty much right to the minute. It arrived at the station and at my final destination, both kind of right on time within, again, a few minutes. The ADO bus showed up about 20 to 25 minutes late to the station, so I would have to give the win to the Tren Maya for punctuality. Once the bus did get going, it stayed on schedule and didn't really get any further behind, but it was always 20-ish minutes behind. I made it to Bacalar station pretty much right to the minute. I rechecked my ticket and it's 3 hours and 45 minutes from Playa del Carmen to Bacalar, and that's pretty much exactly what it was. As far as comfort, I'm going to have to say Tren Maya would be a grand slam. I mean, trains versus buses, it's really kind of no comparison. On the train, you can get up and walk around if you want, and it just feels so much more spacious. And of course, the Tren Maya is a lot newer. Even though my trip on the train was almost 4 hours, it flew by and was just super comfortable the whole way. I wouldn't say the ADO bus is uncomfortable. There's just really no comparison to a modern train. As far as Wi-Fi, this one kind of surprised me, is the Tren Maya did not have Wi-Fi, and there was also no cell phone service for the majority of the trip unless you were driving through a town or a city. Not sure if there's plans to get Wi-Fi on the Tren Maya trains in the future, but when I went, there was definitely no service like that. So yeah, the Wi-Fi was non-existent. As far as the ADO bus, it did advertise Wi-Fi, and I was on the GL bus, the purple bus, which is, I don't know, a step or two up from the base one, allegedly. But the thing that kind of surprised me there as well, I would have to give the Wi-Fi to the ADO as a win, but barely, because the Wi-Fi, again, was only available when you were driving through a town or a city, which is not very often, and it wasn't very strong either. So it was not great at all. So really neither one deserves the win, but the ADO slightly gets the win, I guess, because there's some form of Wi-Fi, but that could definitely be fixed. I was actually surprised there wasn't something right on the bus. But it seems to connect to towers in towns as you go through them. As far as food, the Tren Maya does have like a dining or a food sales area where you can get sandwiches, drinks, that type of thing, whereas the bus, of course, does not have that system. So the Tren Maya is going to win as far as food. This right here, what I'm showing, is what I brought onto the ADO bus. So I brought my own food, and that actually worked out pretty well. Now, washrooms and washroom cleanliness is always a big topic when you're traveling. Now, this one, the Tren Maya, has the obvious advantage. There's actually staff who were cleaning the washrooms while we were going on the Tren Maya. But the Tren Maya is also, of course, much newer. And washrooms on buses, it's just not a very nice thing ever, and it's tough to keep clean, and there's only a certain number of them, whereas on the train it just yeah, you got the Tren Maya wins this one all day long. Smells pretty bad in here. It's like a, I don't know, like a 7 for cleanliness, I guess. And like a 0 for smell. It's horrible. So, water? Nope, no water. Oh, that's awesome. So the station location for convenience is definitely going to be won by the ADO. So the ADO, of course, is a much longer standing infrastructure. And so they have established stations all over the place and kind of where you want stations. The Tren Maya was at a disadvantage because it had to come in and put stations in areas that were already fairly populated, some of them, like Playa del Carmen and Merida and Cancun, for example. So as far as the convenience of the stations, it varies a bit on which station you're going to, but Playa del Carmen, for example, is one, the ADO stations. There's 2 of them in town in Playa del Carmen, and the Tren Maya station is way out, like a 25-minute cab ride from town. So the ADO would win this category. Took about 20 minutes to get from town in Playa del Carmen. It's not really in Playa del Carmen. It was a fairly expensive taxi ride out here, 400 pesos. It's built on the outside of town, as trains, of course, usually are. So this one surprised me a bit because I thought with the trip duration, the length of the journey, I thought the Tren Maya would be much better because that's really one of the main points of trains, is that they don't have to go through traffic and they're on their own track, so they can generally often go much quicker than cars, buses, anything that's dealing with traffic. But in this case, the trip duration, at least for where I was going, kind of Playa del Carmen to Bacalar back up to Cancun Airport, the trip duration was almost exactly the same for both the train and the ADO bus. Now I'm thinking this may be because the Tren Maya is still a little bit under construction, so there are workers still on the tracks, around the tracks, so the train maybe has to slow down and can't go its full speed. But that kind of surprised me. I would have thought the Tren Maya, and maybe it will be in the future, have a much quicker trip duration for the same trip. But at the moment, I can't really award a winner for trip duration because they both took the same amount of time. As far as charging stations, both the Tren Maya and the ADO bus have charging stations, and both have the same actually. So one North American plug and then two USBs. Now, whether or not these charging stations worked is, of course, another story. On the ADO bus, I couldn't get the North American plug to charge. The USB was working, but the North American plug was not. On the Tren Maya, all three slots did work. So in this category, the Tren Maya wins. Now, the Tren Maya is, of course, a lot newer. But that shouldn't be an excuse. The ADO bus should keep up their maintenance. And one of the slots did not work on the ADO, arguably the most important one. As far as pricing goes, the Tren Maya was a fair bit more expensive, basically twice as expensive as the ADO. Now, this is for a foreigner, so a Mexican national, the two prices are going to be very similar. So it kind of depends, I guess, where you're coming from and what type of residency you have. But in my case, it's definitely a fair bit cheaper to use the ADO bus as opposed to the Tren Maya. I had 9 different criteria that I was looking at to compare the ADO bus and the Tren Maya. One of them was a tie, trip duration, which took the same amount of time for both. In the other 8 categories, the Tren Maya won 5 of them. So punctuality, comfort, food, washrooms, and charging stations. And the ADO bus won 3 of them: Wi-Fi, station location, and price. Really, overall, I had a great experience traveling on both the Tren Maya and the ADO bus throughout the Yucatan Peninsula. I hope you got some valuable information in the video that can help you out on your travels. Have a great day, and we will see you on the next video.